Hi, welcome to Design Journeys, and this is Full for Poetry by me, Valentina Doncevic. I'm an entrepreneur and writer, and I would like to tell you a story about one life through poetry. And we're starting off back in 1996 in a faraway Croatia, ex-Yugoslavia. The girl we're talking about is 17 at the time, and she is very much influenced by writers, novelists, poets from all over the world, the likes of Dostoevsky, Charles Baudelaire, Jacques Prévert, Marcel Proust, Edgar Allan Poe. Having such impact on her, she's just going through her days writing, reading, listening to music. The village where she lives has about 85 people living in it and nothing much to do, no one really to turn to. She's quite lonely. On top of that, quite introverted and shy. So books are really her refuge. She just takes a book, goes to the forests and fields, and spends her days, starts collecting things quite a bit from the nature. Nobody really understands why, herself included to a degree, but it just makes her feel fulfilled in a way. And she's thinking through her books, she's just trying to figure things out, what to do next. She's finalizing her A-levels, her high school, doesn't know what to do, where to go, and so she sets off. She sets off to London, first time ever outside of Croatia, first time ever on a plane. She finds herself in London and she falls in love with the city. Everything is new, everything is in a different language. And she quickly tries to find all those books and poems that she wrote in Croatian to read them in English, trying to understand it in a different way, learn a language which she finds quite fascinating, having probably most words in the world, English language. The vocabulary is so rich and so intense, so she is having quite a ride with that. But nevertheless, she keeps going back and forth, being torn between Croatia, her home country, and this new country that is providing her with a new home, the UK. Yes, poetry was the coping mechanism of a sort. It was the verses that she has been reading while being consumed by anger, loneliness, abandonment, sadness, and disappointment. That also transpired years on into writing poetry herself. But she's still exploring. She's traveling extensively, reading further on. Now, most of the writers she would read, she had this unspoken rule that they had to be dead to be good writers. But nevertheless, she is trying and exploring. Murakami being one of the newer writers, she's gotten this book and finds it quite interesting. So it ends up being one of the top writers of hers. In 2003, she begins to write her first poems. The first attempt being in Croatian, which was quite of a disaster, so she just switched to English. Again, at that point, English is good, much better than when she arrived to the UK in 98 and 99. But yes, first poetry is coming out, and it's a reflection of those years that were not as bright and as happy. For her, some traumas, some experiences that have not been too kind to her are coming out, and the reminiscent of ruins, of abandoned places is coming through, and she's drawn to that more and more, and she's writing about it more and more. She loves derelict places, houses, everything that's kind of rough and rugged that needs saving. As the years go on, in 2006, a miracle happens. It was almost like a mistake or almost like an accident for her. That was one of the poems that she has submitted for a competition, has won her a first prize, and to her disbelief, it was also published in an anthology in 2009. And this poem was really influenced by so many things, one of which is a painting by a German painter, Bellman. And it's distorted, it's a bit disturbing. It draws on her own experiences to a degree, but also, what she sees when she looks at this painting, the possibilities and the lost love and all sorts of things that come into one. And that was actually a tool, this pain that went through in earlier years and at the time, to a degree, that has given her the opportunity to be seen. A lot of people saw this poem. A lot of people were moved by it in different ways, and they thought it was something worth reading and exploring further. Meanwhile, she's also collecting books, first editions, any kind of editions. She's filling her, anywhere she goes, anywhere she lives, she's just trailing books. Mostly in English, but Croatia, UK, London, so on and so forth. And then, after some time, after 16 years of living in London, and after years of seeking, exploring, thinking, writing and creating in general, Singapore becomes home. Then she starts her own interior design firm, and there isn't a day that goes by without engaging in some sort of creative endeavor, whether it's writing, cooking, crochet, interiors, any kind of, and everybody has a story, which is a unique as the person herself or himself. Just as people take care of their physical, mental, spiritual well-being, it's just as important to stop and reflect. And this girl or woman today, she's been doing just that all the time, and now more so. And there came the time when there was nothing else to do but write anything, a line, a reflection, a letter, a curse, but a poem came through, and that unrest was so strong to ignore, and her brain was just probably too clouded with unsolved memories that she just had to shake it out. And the best you could do is just putting into a poem, not thinking, not rationalizing it, just putting it out there. Clumsy, ugly, dramatic, you name it, sad, unhinged, it doesn't matter. It was just coming out, and it was a way of letting go, of processing things. And I think the purpose of poetry and creativity in general is to liberate. If you're writing, both the writer and the reader should have a sense of liberation in some ways. It is complex, but at the same time, it's quite effortless, the creative process. So not to engage the logic, not to engage the brain so much. It just takes over or the entire rationale and the entire reason. But it tones down all the loudness that we carry around daily, and it helps us retune with ourselves. And this is why I create every day, if I can, whenever I can, whatever I can. And I thank you so much for watching, and take good care.